Hello, welcome to Chasing Green Arrows. It's game week 7, and it's going to be an interesting one because there are injuries all over the place. We've actually brought a sub in of our own actually today. Gianni, still nowhere to be seen since this record score that has broken FPL of 112 points from Gianni last week. Still nowhere to be seen on this show. I think he's too big time for us, but Ian Irving jumps off the bench, and I'm happy to have him with me. How you doing, mate?
He's still doing his lap of honour somewhere, isn't he, Gianni?
Well, he's literally in India. He's doing a lap of the world, just letting everybody know how well he's done.
I think India might be the only place that hasn't heard fully yet about Gianni's week. So, he'll be stopping off in Australia on the way back round as well. America, maybe. Honestly, you think no one had got 100 points before?
Well, have you ever got 100 points, mate?
Only last week, but you don't hear me going on about it, do you?
Here he is. Was it your... Well, how's your season going now then? So if you got 100-pointer last week, Gianni's talked about how it shot him up like a million places or whatever. How far did it get you up the table?
Yeah, well, pretty good to be fair. Gianni went from 2.3 million to just inside the top 200,000, I think was what he did. And mine took me from 3 million to just shy of 900,000 in the world.
Oh, wow.
So it's looking miles better than it was this point last
mad.
week. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Just one good week, basically. And I've been floundering a little bit as well. So I really did need it. And it's just people, I think like Gianni said in some of his videos this week, it's not necessarily people that nobody owns, like some sort of secret selection sort of thing. It's just having a collection of players who are sort of across the board fairly popular, but it's having them all together, isn't it? That when they all bang and people like Julian Alvarez don't, this is what can happen.
And that was it, wasn't it? Like the Alvarez thing, look, it killed me. The only change I made last week was Watkins out, Alvarez in. Yeah. And if I was to go back a week now, I'd still make the transfer. I'd still do it.
You never know. This week it might pay you back as well. Just because it didn't work out in the first week, it can change, can't it?
It can, yeah. And you think, right, Alvarez, Wolves away, yeah, I'll just let that go on. And I'd like to think that over time, the points would stack up, and Alvarez obviously going to have a good season anyway. So Torben says the FPL lottery, yeah, it basically is, and you've got to be loyal to some and ditch others. Before we get into fresh off the press, please feel free, guys, to keep your questions coming in. We're going to go through loads today. Me and Ian are going to be a lot more off the cuff, I think, than we might be normally with Gianni to organise things. So less structure, more fun will probably be the theme.
Get the excuses in early, mate. Yeah.
Exactly, mate. Yeah, I'm not the normal host. I'm just going to say that could be organised chaos. But there's flags all over my team. In my starting 11, I've got 3 flags, and I've got two on the bench, which almost certainly aren't going to play. So in my 11, Saka's flagged, Son's flagged. Gusto, obviously, I need to get him out of the team. He's flagged. Baldock's flagged. It's not looking great. Maddison's flagged. They're all over the place.
They are. I said to you in the warm-up, there's more flags around at the moment than the opening ceremony of the Olympics. It's absolutely ridiculous at the moment.
I still like it second time round.
Thank you. And the thing about them as well, they're not definite flags, are they? They're not 100% red flags. You're definitely out. The sort of orange, the yellow. They seem to have created this new shade of amber just to sort of sum up the uncertainty that's around at the moment with these injured players. The managers as well. It seems to be a bit of a trend at the moment that we're not getting extensive injury news, and it is going to affect our FPL teams moving forward, undoubtedly. I cover Manchester United a lot. Eric Ten Hag now, whilst he's given a few flags out today, actually, with people like Martinez and Reguilon. But he's not going to give extensive answers on injuries. He's not going to give specifics about exactly what the problems are. He's not going to give specifics for exactly how long these players are out for. So I think we're going to have to adapt to this situation. Mikel Arteta today, Eddie Howe today, the more they spoke, the more uncertainty there was. There seems to be contradictions with Saka that he's 50% ruled out or 50% chance of playing on the FPL website. Arteta's saying he's not trained, and then there's pictures of him training, and it's just uncertain, and it's exactly what we don't want. If players are out, we want to know they're out, and if players are not out, we want to know that they're not out. It makes it really difficult.
And the Carabao Cup makes it difficult too, because we know that that's the competition where people are rested anyway. So even if you had a slight knock for that game, you probably would have played if it was a Premier League game, but they might not use you if you are getting the Carabao Cup. There's actually a really good example of this. So the official FPL's page on X put out a tweet saying, how many flags do you have in your team this week? One guy sent in a team flagged. He had Botman, Byrne, Maddison, Saka, Trossard, Ferguson, and Wilson. 11 were flagged. And then someone else followed it up with Botman, Saliba, Saka, Maddison, and Edouard in his team. Like everyone in our chat seems to have about 4. CH has got 6. Frode says, yeah, I've got 6 as well.
The thing is, though, especially that first group of players that you read out for the first side, I wouldn't even be surprised if they all played.
This is the thing. I'm not convinced about any of it.
No.
I'm looking at my team, and I like, so really from the starting 11, like Saka and Son are the 2. But I'm like, I'm not concerned at all about those 2 playing. Like,
well, they're really important players.
Vaguest. Yeah, they're so important. And I heard what Ange said about Son. It seemed very, very like a minor doubt. Like his training seems fine. Maddison sounds like he'll be fine as well. And Saka was like even less convincing, like you say. Like it seems like he's probably gonna. He doesn't miss games, Saka. Like we know that. Like Saka
he's set a new record for not missing games, hasn't he? Exactly.
Yeah.
So he'll be desperate to keep that going. I think the other thing as well, you've got managers now who are saying, like, I went to Manchester City today and Pep Guardiola, and I was the one in the press conference trying to find out information about the injured players. It was quite straightforward. Same as it was before, basically. De Bruyne is out long term. Rodri's suspended. John Stones is not back yet. Bernardo Silva's not quite back yet. So Pep was quite sort of certain of that. But then he's like, oh, but we have got another training session this afternoon. Yeah. So we'll find out what happens with that. And I just read that as just a bit of a fly comment. But if you were being, if you're reading into it even more, perhaps that meant that maybe John Stones is in that session and perhaps he could have a chance, or, you could literally be spending all day thinking about this. So,
yeah. You could, but I think, it almost feels like they're toying with us by just throwing all these flags in. They've had every single doubt from every single press conference is suddenly flagged, and I feel that's not normally how this plays out. I'll tell you what, let's go through the team news. Let's go to fresh off the press, and then I'll read through some of the major headlines that we've probably got to deal with. So Arsenal, probably the best place to start because they have got a pretty worrying injury list right now. Even if you do take Saka out of the equation, Declan Rice has a groin problem. Martinelli and Trossard both have hamstring issues. Thomas Partey has a groin injury. Saliba does have a knock. Okay, I think he'll probably play, but he's got a knock. Fabio Vieira, he looks like he's going to be out. And Jurrien Timber, obviously a long-termer. That's pretty extensive. And we're going to really start to find out how much we can trust Arsenal's strength in depth. Like, at least they do have strength in depth these days. And I'm pretty sure that they'll be okay this weekend. But that is starting to get quite alarming, isn't it? And if, say, Saka didn't play and you were taking him, Rice, Martinelli, even if you had Partey and Saliba missing from that team as well, I mean, that is basically the core of their team. Like, that is when you start to really find out what they're made of.
Yeah, definitely. And this is the other thing as well, because we don't know the severity of some of these issues, you can't even be sure that you can bring in other players from Arsenal who might benefit. I mean, we'll probably talk about Newcastle in a bit, and I think Anthony Gordon now is emerging as a real option for people, especially people who want to bring in Mohamed Salah, and he's only 5.6, I think, at the moment. But there's certainty there because Eddie Howe's turned around and said that Harvey Barnes is out until the new year. So you know that the major competition for him is not there. So you can be a little bit more confident that bringing him into your team, bringing him into the team means that, you're going to be able to rely on him a bit more. But when it comes to Arsenal at the moment, I mean, Reece Nelson, I don't think he's an option in FPL at the minute. But say all these players were ruled out for a set period and you're looking at a month with some of these missing, then perhaps you think, I might have a go with Reece Nelson for a couple of weeks. Gabriel Jesus, has he become more secure? Eddie Nketiah. But because we don't actually know how long these people are out for, it makes it really difficult to actually be able to try and take advantage of injury situations, which often in FPL, you do get a chance to do that, which Anthony Gordon seems like a good opportunity at the moment, for example.
He really does, yeah. An interesting question from Danny B, who says, should I go Saka to Son for -4? I want Son in and Saka's out for next week anyway. He's
One
not.
flag for another.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, don't be dragged into that one. I mean, look, at the end of the day, Saka's got Bournemouth away and Son has got Liverpool at home. What I would say too about that Liverpool fixture, Trent sounds like he might be back. He's certainly back in the frame at the very least, looking to return from a thigh injury that's been keeping him out. But I have to say, like, I'm still not wholly convinced by Liverpool's defence. And I feel like if Maddison and Son are fit, the way that those two combine, the way that they manage to get chances in behind, I can see Van Dijk being a bit flat-footed. Like, sounds a bit silly because Liverpool have been good this season, but
Yeah.
he's not prime, is he? And like, that is the combination that could absolutely catch him out.
Liverpool have been good, but they kept one clean sheet all season, which was against Aston Villa a few weeks ago. Other than that, they've conceded. They seem to like going 1-0 down to come back and win 3-1 at the moment, don't they? That seems to be the way that they do it. The thing with Liverpool's defence, the only one I'd even consider at the moment really is Trent Alexander-Arnold when he's back fit. And he's had a hamstring problem as well. So usually with that issue, you like to see someone returning before you bring them back in, because it's one of the ones that can cause longer term issues if you're not quite right. Sometimes people come back a bit quick than they need to. So this Spurs game's perfect because I don't think you're bringing in a Liverpool defender, before Tottenham. When it comes to longer term, obviously the fixtures are getting better from game week 10, I think it is, when they have the Merseyside derby. So I think that's the time that we're beginning to look more seriously at the Liverpool options. But I've seen people talk about triple ups. I just don't know at the moment which three I'd want, to be honest. I think there's so much uncertainty about the attacking players because of all the options that Klopp's got. No clean sheets other than that Villa one, like I say, as well. So, and Alexander-Arnold is very expensive. I don't see a world where you're getting Haaland, Salah, and Trent Alexander-Arnold, because you also want people like Son. You also want people like Saka. Maybe you can sacrifice him. Some people are now suggesting, but this budget that we had coming out of our ears a few weeks ago, suddenly it's
gone, isn't it?
Gone, isn't it?
It has gone. Completely. Yeah, it has. Szoboszlai is becoming a bit of a tempting one for Liverpool. He's really influencing games. We've seen how he can score from distance. Obviously, Darwin Núñez is becoming a better option now than he was last season too. Liverpool are looking to score 3 or more goals in 4 successive league matches for the first time since under Brendan Rodgers in 2014. So Liverpool really have scoring boots on at the moment, and that'd be a hell of a stat. Like, I didn't realize it'd been that long, going back almost 10 years here since Liverpool.
Mad, isn't it?
Scoring form. Yeah, I mean, that really caught me left field when I had that stat sent to me the other day, and I was like, that is pretty crazy. There was a comment here I've got to read out because I couldn't agree with it less. HM10, there's always a chance of Son and Maddison getting rested for Luton. Does he, unless have I read this wrong? Does he mean that they'll be left out of the Luton game, or rest them this week so they can play against Luton? I've taken it as like he might rest make sure they beat Luton.
Either way, they don't need to be rested. This is the glorious thing about Tottenham assets this season. It should have been the glorious thing about Chelsea assets, but the way that they've started the campaign, we're getting rid of them all. There's no Europe, so don't worry about it. They're not going to be rested for anything. They're going to play all the time, and that's great. That's exactly the situation that we want. So,
just not resting players like that, especially at the moment. The momentum that this team have built,
exactly,
trying to get this bond between each other. They haven't got a deep enough squad to be rotating this too much anyway. Like, Tottenham have got basically 15 players that you can totally rely on. And then beyond that, they are bringing in players when they have to. So, sorry, HM10. I don't mean to throw you under the bus there, but I don't feel like Tottenham are going to be resting players. Right, our first super chat is in from Mark. Thank you very much.
Goodness gracious me.
Very, very kind of you. This question looks like it's going to blow my mind, but I'm going to give it a go.
It's already blown mine.
Who to bench? Maddison, Rashford, Bowen, Foden, Morris, Saka, Haaland, or Al? I mean, how have you got all of these players in your team? If Saka and Maddison are both fit, who do I like? It feels like you just listed 7 forwards. Well,
if it's benching just one player, I know this sounds ridiculous because it's a double game week, but I think I'm benching Morris.
And if
Maddison, trying to work out the flags on that. If Maddison and Saka are flagged and don't play, then Morris comes in straight away. But Rashford at home to Crystal Palace, I think, is a good fixture. Palace have got their issues. They're another team which seem to have a load of flags. And United, they're up against, all right, a second-string Palace side in the week, but that felt so much better as a Manchester United performance. I was at Old Trafford that night, and lots of players look back at it. So you had Rashford into that. You had Bruno Fernandes into that. You had Højlund into that from the start. That feels good. Jared Bowen's made a brilliant start to the season. I interviewed him actually after the Liverpool game, and he was quite positive about his form, despite the fact that the team had lost.
Was he?
And he has made a really good start to this season. He's feeling extremely confident. The numbers are coming. He's got a diving header at Van Dijk's feet at Anfield.
That was such a brave header, man.
At the Kop end as well.
Unbelievable.
Great goal. I mean, Phil Foden, it's a good fixture away at Wolves. Maybe you could hedge your bets, I suppose, and leave one of the City players on the bench. But Foden got a double. What did he get? 11 points last week. Haaland, you're not benching. Alvarez at the moment, his form is so good. I think it's Morris.
People are blinded by Morris this week. Like, how many people were showing Morris love has kind of blown my mind. Like, I'm going to talk about this later in the show when we get to Against the Obvious. So do hang around for that later in the show.
I've got my powder dry on a Liverpool asset as well for that particular section.
I look forward to that one. But yeah, I would definitely be benching Morris out of those assets. I know it's a double. I know he's got a double game week, but he plays for Luton. Like, there is a very strong chance they play both those games, score 0 goals and get 0 points. Like, you have to remember that. Like, it might not turn out like that, but it might. I want to ask you about Rashford. Man United's team news is that McTominay and Eriksen are able to play again this weekend. But the bigger news, Lisandro Martinez out, Sergio Reguilon missing, Amrabat likely to make his full league debut and possibly at left back. Rashford also not concerns me, but I'm from an FPL point of view, I think he would be concerning me right now if I still had him, because I'd be thinking, how long can I hang on to him? What have you seen? Because you see him in the stadium more than most people would.
Yeah.
What are you reading from Rashford right now in terms of the version that we're getting of him?
I don't think he's been at his best so far this season. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I'm sorry, my cat has decided that it's going to sit on my knee at this precise moment. Get down, darling. There you go.
Get on, mate. Might talk better than Gianni normally does. Hey.
Very nicely done. He's not been at his best so far this season. I don't think there's any doubt about that. He's not found the rhythm that he had last season. With Rashford as well, he's very streaky. When he's on it, he's on it. And when he's not, it feels like he's going to take a while to get back there.
Yeah.
The only thing I'll say is when he has played on the left-hand side with Højlund, there is signs of a bit of a partnership developing there. Before Højlund came into the team against Forest, Rashford was really good. He got 2 assists, setting up a goal, I think, for Casemiro, winning a penalty as well. He would have got an assist against Brighton if it wasn't for the ball going over the line by about a centimetre for Højlund's goal. He set up Højlund in the Champions League for a goal at Bayern Munich as well. There is something there. I interviewed Rashford a couple of weeks ago, and he told me that those two have been working on their relationship as well, even away from some of the coaches at Manchester United, just to try and get the most out of that. And it feels like that could be a ticket out of their poor start for United if those two can really strike something and get it going again. I'm not going to take Rashford out. I'm going to keep Rashford in my team for now. I think the fixtures are good for United short term. I think Crystal Palace is a decent fixture. I think Brentford at home as well, although Brentford can be stubborn. United's record against them at home is decent. And then they've got Sheffield United away. I've actually got Rasmus Højlund as well, who I brought in last week for a -4, which despite getting, what eventually worked out to be 98 points with that -4. Yeah. So despite getting 102 points, he was one of the ones who didn't return. But I just feel like United looked so much better in that Palace game in the week. So Burnley was a step forward a little bit, even though the performance wasn't there, the result was. And I can see them sort of growing from this point. So I'm not jumping off Rashford, not just yet.
Yeah, that is interesting. And I'll tell you one thing that the other day I was really going big on here about Højlund, actually, and how much I like watching him, how I think he's going to change things. And I got a bit of stick for it, saying that was it. Someone asked about Diaby at Villa, and I said, at the start of the season, I didn't trust him. I wasn't sure I know he's a good player. I wasn't sure how consistent he would be. And I still don't know whether he can maintain the form that he's shown so far. But then 2 minutes later, I was bigging up Højlund, and they said, well, hang on, how come you trust Højlund, but you don't trust Diaby? I said, I don't know. And there isn't an answer here that I can back myself up, apart from instincts. Like, there's just something about Højlund, as Man United's number 9 right now, that I feel is going to bang this season. And then the reaction to that was, but his job is to make space for Rashford to come into.
I'm not sure that's true.
Sure about that. Yeah.
No, I'm not sure that's true. I think the reason I brought Højlund into my team is because I think United need to get the best out of him as well. I think in terms of a centre forward, it feels like things are going to be set up to get the best out of him. That's why I ended up bringing into the team. I couldn't bring Alvarez in because I was already tripled up on City. Mm-hmm. And I wanted someone around that price point. He's very low owned as well at the moment. Is he 4% owned, something like that? Yeah. But it feels like United are working towards something, and that something is Rasmus Højlund up front. And if he can make space for Rashford, great. But also if he's there to finish off moves, that's also what he's in the team for. You look at, I think Diogo Dalot put a cross in at Turf Moor, which he was really, really close to sort of getting in at the far post. And you think, give it a couple more weeks, and those movements become a little bit more automatic for these players. Because, I mean, Højlund's only been in the team for the last 3 or 4 games as well. Yeah. He just looks ready to me. That was the thing that really struck me about him in that Brighton game when he started. And I know it was a bad day for United, but watching him in the warm-up, watching him line up, watching him play, certainly in the first half when he was fit and he looked a threat, he just looks ready for the stage. He doesn't look like he's overawed. He's only 20 years old. There's a big price tag, but I don't know. I just got a good feeling about him, like you were saying as well. Sometimes you just get that with players, don't you?
Yeah, there's something refreshing about Man United right now. The fact that Johnny Evans has come in doing well, Reguilon's come in doing well, Amrabat's come in for his debut, doing well. Højlund looks like he's doing well. It's almost like at least these few players, and look, Johnny Evans obviously is a slightly different case, but they're not kind of burned by everything else that's going on around Old Trafford. They're coming in to just like start something new. And it's like, maybe there's something to that.
Yeah, they might have been burned after Brighton, to be honest, when they felt like the world was falling in for Manchester United. There's some interesting comments, actually, that are coming in about Rashford. I'm just trying to go back to one here because it really struck a chord with what I think as well, to be honest. So it was about Rashford passing. Basically, he's had a load of stick and he post. I think it was the Brighton game. I can't find the comment now.
For not releasing the ball and stuff.
Yeah, because he had 9 shots. It was the most shots he'd ever had in a Premier League game. And then at Burnley, it felt like he was trying to pass too much. And I don't think that was a direct response to the criticism after Brighton. But I thought it was interesting. And again, it's just coming back to that point where you're trying to just create that link up. And in the first few weeks, sometimes it can take a little bit of time, but once you've hit the ground running with it, once you've had 3 or 4 matches together, it then becomes a little bit automatic. I see Eddie said, wildcard 10, who's better to have, Rashford or Bruno? For me, Rashford still. He's the furthest forward a lot of the time for Manchester United as well. I don't think Bruno Fernandes is a bad pick, and obviously he's on penalties as well. But I think when United play against the better teams, which they have got coming up after this little run, teams who are going to attack United, they're going to look for those transition plays, and Rashford's going to be key to that again.
Yeah, definitely. Unknown Guy says, do these guys even look at the comments and reply?
Oh, really?
Guy, I'll have you know, we are the most interactive FPL show out there, and we pride ourselves on it.
We've even interacted with a little bit of trolling there as well, so that shows exactly how interactive we are, yeah?
We were just doing a little Man United section there based on their team news and the fact that Ian knows the club inside out. I will answer your question, Unknown Guy, just because we are like that. We're just so nice over here. He says, is it worth using my bench boost with Turner, Botman, Shah and Bowen on there? It's not a bad shout. Let me just get this on my screen so I can assess this properly. Obviously, Newcastle have got Burnley at home, so that looks good. Where's Bowen at?
He's at home to
Sheffield United.
Sheffield United. Newcastle.
Sheffield United.
Good fixture.
Really nice fixture, yeah. And Nottingham Forest home to Brentford. So there's worse weeks to use it. I would say that much. I mean, at the moment, like the one massive flaw in my team is I haven't got any Newcastle defenders because I thought they were going to struggle having Champions League games and ballots in their squad out. I've been made to look a bit of a mug on that one, but so be it. So there you go, unknown guy. I think, yeah, go for it. Go for your bench
good
boost.
point by Mark, actually, in the comments. It depends on how many players you've got flagged. If you're looking at your team, you've got 6 players flagged in the starting lineup, and that's your bench. This is a week where you're quite happy to have that bench to back you up. I'd love to know who's in his team, considering that's the bench.
His bench. Yeah. Absolutely. Let us know. And make sure, unknown guy, that you are subscribed and you are liking this stream. I don't recognize you from around here. You obviously don't recognize us too much. But make sure you are liking and subscribing and you come back because, yeah,
and bring your name next time as well.
Unknown guy.
I'd like you to be known guy, please.
Stick your name in.
Unknown guy making a name for himself. Good banter, CH. Like it.
Exactly. Well done, CH. Right, let's move on from that section. That was a good chat. We are going to do more questions, though, like 100% at the back end of this. But we're going to get on to our team reveals now so we can quickly go through exactly what we're thinking this weekend. Right, here they are, the Walton Rifles. I've been pretty consistent this season, mate. And I got like 73 points in the last game week. But what alarmed me is when you said you were like, your rank was 3 million and you ended up at 900,000. I was like 1.3 million and I ended up at 1.1 million with 73 points. So like, I've just moved nowhere and you've like shot like a rocket. So well done for that. I certainly haven't had a rise like that, but I've just been about the same position since game week 1. So
shows how tight it is, though, doesn't it? That's the thing. And I'm sure Gianni, once he'd sort of come down from his island of boasting, like he seems to enjoy, would actually think that the major takeaway from his game week and mine is the fact that you can climb that far that quickly. And you're only talking, what? I got 98 points, so it's only just over 20 more than what you got, Dean. And you know, I'm climbing, well, the best part of what, 2 million places. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous that can be the difference between a 3 million rank and a top 800,000 rank.
Absolutely, that and it really, like, if I'd have kept Watkins in my team, I probably would be in the top million by now, if I hadn't made that sub for Alvarez. But I'm not too worried about that. Look, if these flags turn out to be true and like Saka and Son don't play, and I mean Gusto isn't playing, but Baldock's also flagged, then I am struggling a bit here. But I genuinely am just going on the premise that these are all playing. Like, I don't believe in the flags for Son and Saka. I believe that this lineup is going to be okay. I've brought in Ward-Prowse this week. That's my transfer. I was
going to ask you if you made your transfer because I noticed it said 0 freeze.
Yeah. So I had Enzo, and I've been kind of trying to figure out what I could do. So it started off as Declan Rice, that position. I had him in for 3 or 4 weeks, if you remember. I was like, no, it's just a holder. I'm figuring out what to do it. I switched it to Enzo. That wasn't the answer. So I've now upgraded like 1 million or so because I had like 2.5 million in the bank. And I've gone to Ward-Prowse. I couldn't quite get to Jarrod Bowen, I think. I did try to, but I couldn't quite get there. But Ward-Prowse, I've watched pretty much all of West Ham's games so far. And one of my mates was a season ticket holder. So I've been hearing from him about Ward-Prowse's influence on the team. I feel like he's somebody that's snuck under the radar as a really consistent performer and somebody that's going to continue to be that way.
Every single season, I want to own James Ward-Prowse. And every single season, I end up not owning James Ward-Prowse. He's so consistent. He's so nicely priced. West Ham are, a lot of the time, relying on set pieces as well, at both ends, really, for their strong defensive record and for their attacking threat as well. And it's an obvious thing to say, but his set pieces are so good. I was watching his corners at Anfield. I mean, the trajectory of the balls in. And West Ham have got some real threats from set pieces as well. Sheffield United's record was talked about ahead of the Newcastle game. And obviously that became true, didn't it? When they ended up with Kieran Trippier getting 3 assists, 2 of them from set pieces. So, you know, Ward-Prowse is a great selection. And actually, I think the fixtures are good for West Ham as well. I was looking at them when I was thinking about, different options moving forward. So just to reiterate what they've obviously got Sheffield United this week, but all the way up to what about game week 17? There's Tottenham away in there. There's Villa away in there. There's Newcastle at home, but the rest of them look okay. You know, Sheffield United at home, Everton at home, Brentford away, Forest at home, Burnley away, Palace at home, Fulham away. Sorry, Dean, but they look all right. You know, so I think Bowen or Ward-Prowse could be a feature in our midfield.
Yeah,
I think he's a great pick.
It was a tough one. Mark says, "What is Moyes' plan for Kudus from here onwards?" And he is someone I considered. But I've got this thing nagging in the back of my head about someone I spoke to who works at West Ham. When they made the signing, I was like, well, what are you expecting from him? And they're like, look, this guy could genuinely be a world beater. But we are prepared for the fact that the first few weeks, the integration might be a bit frustrating. Like, we've got to figure out exactly how he fits in with us. We've got to figure out how he takes to the Premier League. Like, is sensational in terms of what he's capable of on a ball. But it's the positioning, it's the energy that you need, and when you need to use that energy, it's the game management as well as anything else. So he's going to be good, Mark, but I just felt it was a bit of a gamble right now. I don't even know about minutes, to be honest, right now for him. Whereas Ward-Prowse just seemed a bit of a safer bet. So that is the route.
Kudus isn't coming into the team for James Ward-Prowse, that's certain. I mean, he came off the bench at Anfield and went up front, I think, for Antonio. I think as well, you look at the start of the season last year for West Ham with Paquetá in the middle of midfield, for example, and it just didn't quite work, did it, at the start of last season? I was trying to remember who the other player was. There was two players who they brought in who were much more flair players than perhaps what David Moyes had been used to at West Ham and other clubs. And I'm wondering how much he learned from that, because actually this time around the start has been really strong. And that's the reason why he's not going to bring Kudus in for the sake of it, because West Ham start has been so strong. The formula's been good. I mean, even at Anfield last week, first half, they were the better team. They stepped off Liverpool a bit too much in the second half, and they came back into it. But I don't think Kudus is going to start anytime soon in the Premier League. I think the Europa League, and they'll see how that goes. And the vibe I got from speaking to some of the staff at West Ham last week as well is he's been very impressive, but it's very early days and he won't be rushed into the team. So
yeah, exactly. That is interesting. Good to know. Before we move on, the only other dilemma I've really got is Archer up front. Like,
I noticed.
Like, I mean, Andreas is my other player. He came in, I think when Fulham played Luton, I think I brought him in. Andreas, the problem with Andreas Pereira this week, Fulham got Chelsea on Monday. He's not actually guaranteed a start. Alex Iwobi has come in and done really well the last couple of games. And I'm wondering if Alex Iwobi ends up getting a start against Chelsea, because Andreas hasn't been right on top of his form, and he definitely seems to be looking to take his spot in this team potentially. So at the moment, I'm not sure where I'm going on that, because I'm a bit concerned that Andreas might just end up being a sub appearance against Chelsea.
How do you feel about a -4 and bringing in Gordon for Andreas?
What did you say Gordon is? 5.6?
I think he's 5.6. Let me check.
I mean, that is definitely something I should be looking at, I tell you, because as I say, I'm not comfortable with Archer or Andreas, and Gusto and Baldock unlikely to play. So that's not
5.6. So you can comfortably afford him. And again, the fixtures: Burnley at home, West Ham away, Crystal Palace at home, Wolves away, Arsenal at home, Bournemouth away, Chelsea at home. The good sort of medium term for Newcastle. So you could have that -4 and wait till game week 13 to see how it pays you back.
Yeah, let me just see. What day do they play their champion? They're home, aren't they? They've got PSG at home on Wednesday as well. But Gordon's guaranteed to play this weekend. I saw someone just flash up. Gianni's in the chat. He's heard you talking about him, mate. Gee, it wasn't me chatting about you, mate. It was Ian knocking you.
I'm sick of hearing about your week, Gianni. It was me.
Hit that like button, indeed. But mate, Anthony Gordon was sensational the other night when he came on. So were Newcastle, to be honest. The second half, like the way that they were pressing Man City was just absolutely ludicrous. So you're right. I do need to consider that. Eddie, if he is on 4 yellow, I don't know if he is on 4 yellows.
He is. One more yellow, he gets a ban. But
I'm not sure I care about that when they've got Burnley at home. I think that I should be overlooking that. If he gets a 5th yellow, he gets a 5th yellow, and I have to deal with it. But I understand what you're saying, because I'm taking a -4, but somehow I've got to make some little tweaks to this team.
I think as well that Harvey Barnes news was the game changer for me. I mean, I'll talk about it a bit more when I do Against the Obvious in a bit, but that has changed my mindset a little bit, because that gives me more certainty that that Gordon's going to be in the team more often than not. But I think he's only going to miss one game, isn't he? If he gets the fifth yellow.
Yeah, only misses one. Yeah, so it's not the worst thing in the world. Right, let's move on from my team. Let's see a proper team here. What have we got? Oh, there you go, Ian's team. Do you want to talk us through it, mate?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to compose myself after seeing Gianni's going to bring in Morris.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's always nice to have a little chuckle at
hang around for against the obvious. Hang around. Also, if you could start the chat in a minute for the community team, that'd be great because I'm terrible at that. Anyway, carry on, Ian.
That's all right. I'm not looking to do anything. So obviously, like I've said, I had a good week last week, 98 points. It was only Rashford and Højlund that didn't return in the starting 11. And the only change from that starting 11, I think, is cash for Estupiñán. I don't think Gvardiol is going to play from the start for City. He started the last two. And I feel like this is a game for Ake. I don't know that for certain, but
that's your hunch, yeah.
But that's how it feels with the pattern of how City how Pep has picked his defence. So I don't mind that. If Gvardiol doesn't play, then Estupiñán comes in, and that's fine. Yeah. And there's always a Dogi, if there is a disaster with Maddison or anyone else, or Saka, I suppose. So maybe I'm a little bit susceptible, but I've made a lot of changes just lately. Like I said, I took a -4 even last week. So I just want to sort of stand still for a moment and take stock a little more, just to understand exactly where I'm going to go.
Yeah, I love the team, mate. I think it's great. I actually like to see him in real life. I think it's great. I love the Haaland-Højlund combo up front.
Good little balance there, isn't there?
It's really nice. Like it's
attacking,
it almost works in real life. I think this formation. So, that's good stuff. Gianni says he's not going to be hanging around, but he said, "Oh, good point, Ian. I think I agree on Gvardiol, and I have him. I'm going to start him, but I think he'll be benched and won't come on for a 1-pointer." Yeah, that's true. He won't come on. This is concerning me because I've got Gvardiol in my team and I've got barely anyone to come into his place. So,
well, I'm just looking now at the pattern for City. So he started against Newcastle with Ake, and he started against Nottingham Forest with Ake on the bench. But Ake ended up playing nearly half that game after Rodri's red card. So he could play, but it just feels like it's a game for Ake, and then it's Leipzig in the week for City, which is obviously Gvardiol's old team. So I feel like he'll definitely play that.
Yeah, good point.
Eddie's saying that Ake started the last game in the Cup. I know he did, but he didn't start last weekend in the Premier League. And I think 2 in a row is okay. 3 in a row is rare if all the players are available. And, Diaz will come back in. Akanji's pretty sure to start. Looks like Walker's starting all the time now. So it's Gvardiol or Ake for that left back or left-sided defence role. So, yeah. So I've looked at Arsenal defenders because I feel like I need to get a piece of the Arsenal defence at some point.
Yeah.
But obviously they've got a load of flags as well.
It's hard to go there, isn't it? Yeah.
I think I'm just going to stand still and see how it goes.
Yeah, I don't think you can go too far wrong with this. No Saka or Saliba in training picks.
Interesting.
We'll see.
Have you checked all 200 pictures and have you zoomed in on all of them to see who's
G just said, I saw him. Yeah, G just said a minute ago his 4G and Wi-Fi wasn't very good. But I guarantee he just used up all his data looking through training pictures in the last few hours.
Well, he'll be researching Morris, won't he, to bring him in? So, he needs to look into that a bit more, I think.
Oh dear. Right, let's move on to the Chasers community team. You guys have got some work to do. You are not doing very well, to be quite honest. Let's see exactly what your score is. 329 points right now for the Chaser 11. I don't know exactly what the rank is, but I'm guessing it's like 2 or 3 million somewhere. I'm sure that will the producer, if you know the league position, drop it in and I'll read it out. Gianni's saying PS Saka will be fine. Yes, he will, mate. We're taking that forwards. But this community team, obviously Chilwell is out. So that seems to me to be an obvious place to be.
Definitely.
Changing in this team. CH, if you are around, I don't know if you want to lead this part to try and get people coming up with options for who we want to replace Chilwell with. Obviously, we do have a Doji in the team, potentially, if we wanted to bring him in. Obviously, Tottenham have got Liverpool, though, so it's not the easiest fixture in the world. And the fact that Ian's just flagged up the point that Gvardiol might be a rotator for this game, that's not going to leave us in a great situation. So
no. There's Jordan Bayer as well, who's got a double game week. It's not brilliant because it's Newcastle away and then it's Luton away, but perhaps you could bring him in to have a little run out. I think a Newcastle defender for Ben Chilwell for me, that seems like the most obvious move. Don't know what the situation is with money in the bank, but if you can afford to bring Trippier in, just go for him and do that. I think looking at the rest of it, yeah, I think that's the most obvious move, to be honest. I'd change Eze at some point, but I'm not sure this is the week for it.
Yeah, I was talking about Eze the other day. I went to the Palace Fulham game last weekend, and Eze was surprisingly quiet. Palace, I think, will just try to shut things up at Old Trafford, and Roy Hodgson will not be happy with how they played the other night, and he'd be delighted to come away from there with a 0-0, to be honest. Maybe Eze creates something, but I wouldn't be banking on it. Luke, we will get around to your bench boost, your question that you asked about wildcard later on in the show, mate. Don't worry, I have seen it, but it's one that I think will be used later on. So come back to it in about 10 minutes time, please, mate. CH says, do we know how much is in the bank? Yes, we do. I actually got this information in advance because I'm such a well-organized host. 1.5 mil in the bank, and we have one free transfer. So yeah, we can do quite a lot here. But do you have any suggestions, Ian, that we should open this up to for a poll of who would be good replacements for Chilwell?
Yeah, well, I think the options are Sven Botman, Kieran Trippier, Matty Cash, and do we need to do 4 or is 3 all right?
3 is probably all right. Let me see if any other comments say otherwise. Yeah, anyone else got any options outside of that? Botman, Trippier, and Matty Cash is the way. Colm suggests Zuma, which I have seen a few people talking about, actually. So we can throw Zuma in, actually, as number 4. I don't mind that at all. So, yeah, producer, if you want to start a poll for who to replace Ben Chilwell in this team, Sven Botman, Kieran Trippier, Matty Cash, or Kurt Zuma, then we can go down that path. Sorry, Lungani, you've come in with Luca Dean there. I'll have to try that another time. CH is happy with the options. That means we're all good. So we will get that poll up and running. I'm even going to log in myself now. I haven't actually logged into this stream on my phone at the moment. I will, just so I can have a vote on this one. Which way do you see this going in? Where are you going to be voting?
I think Trippier, to be honest. I was just looking at some of the comments about him. You know, majority of the chat seems to be looking at him as well. There was one comment from Mark Nash saying, you know, the team's playing catch up, so you need to avoid the obvious. That's fine, but I think Trippier is the best defender pick at the moment. So avoid some others, but I don't think avoiding, you know, the highest scoring defender and the best defensive pick is the right way to go. Other people will play it differently. So for me, I think it's Trippier.
Yeah, I've gone Trippier as well. He's got 56% of the vote. It looks like he's going to win this by a country mile. Kurt Zuma, interestingly, has come in as second place, which I probably have predicted, but that was a good shout from the chat about throwing him in there. I think that's it. We can probably end the poll. There's no way anybody's going to catch Kieran Trippier at that rate. So Kieran Trippier will be coming into this team. CH, you can shout if you see anything you want to change. I mean, obviously, we do have this option of bringing Bayer in. He does have a double game week. Udogie is a very good player, but he does have Liverpool. But would you want him in for Gvardiol? What would you do with that one, Ian? Because if Gvardiol doesn't start, then typically he just wouldn't come on. Would you leave him in the starting lineup, or would you swap him?
I think I'd probably start Jordan Bayer. Why not?
Would you?
Yeah, I think I'd chuck him in as a double game week defender. I'm not certain about Gvardiol. It's very difficult to know.
No, I know.
Guardiola, isn't it?
Yeah, it is hard.
Just based on, you know, my best guess really from the way he's done things in the past. I feel like he will be benched. I think it's unlikely that he comes on for a 1 point, but I just think, you know, to Mark's point, really going against the obvious a little bit. Won't be many people with double Burnley a Burnley defender during this double game week. So I think do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody happy with that? Let us know in the chat. CH, if you're there, you can also have the strongest call of all. Should we bring Bayer in for Gvardiol and have Trippier?
Probably wouldn't do it to my own team, but the community 11.
Well, that's the
why
whole
not?
point. That is the whole point of this team. We're
Yeah.
supposed to use this team to do things that we perhaps wouldn't be brave enough to do ourselves. And to be fair, that's probably why the team's about 3 million. Pete says Bayer first sub. Okay. Mark says he's leaving Bayer as his first sub.
Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah. Stark Vardiol or a Stupinan. Oh, he's talking about his own team there, Eddie. Eddie start a Stupinan. Yeah, we're not getting much feedback on that, so I don't know what we're doing. We'll come back to that one right at the end of the show, guys. So come back, let us know on that one. I think it's time for Against the Obvious because I really want to hear your argument, to be honest with you. Guys, you do not want to miss this Against the Obvious, and there's a big, big call coming from Ian in about 10 seconds' time. Here we go. Oh no, it's me. Oh no. Well, this really will be a very easy.
60... Johnny, are you still there, mate? Have a look at that.
Lost his Wi-Fi. He's lost all his data. Let me get up that little stat I found earlier on about Carlton Morris. You can start the clock. It's pretty straightforward. I can't believe how poisonous actually Twitter became with people arguing about whether to or whether to not have Carlton Morris. It really doesn't matter. If you really think this guy's going to bang, then go for it. But there is not really that much evidence to suggest that this guy's going to score unless he gets a penalty. Now, one thing he is good at is headers, and he actually is joint third in headed attempts at goal this season in the Premier League. Now, the problem is Everton are actually strongest in the air. It's the one thing about this Everton defence that is actually pretty good. There's a chance that Everton give you a penalty for sure, but I don't think Carlton Morris is going to score a header against Everton, and also Pickford's been in good form. So I don't think that there is actually that great a chance of him scoring from there. Obviously, they've got Burnley in the second game. Okay, he might get one goal. A double game week for Morris of Luton Town just is not worth changing your world for. Stop getting so excited, everyone. I'll send that to G later.
Just clip up that little bit, that last bit.
I'm going to literally do it myself and send it to him.
Yeah, just that last line.
I'm not even wasting any more time on it, anyone. Just don't pick him. That's just my advice. J-Rock says Morris will score. I know he will. Now that I've gone that hard on it, of course he's going to score. He can score one. It's just if he scores two, I look silly. Right, mate, here's the big one. Mo Salah.
Stop getting so excited, people. Yeah. Right, start the clock. I'm not coming here to just name anyone. I feel like at the moment, Mohamed Salah is not coming into my FPL team. What do Odsonne Edouard, Dominic Solanke and Abdoulaye Doucouré all have in common this season? Well, so far, they have a higher non-penalty XG than Mohamed Salah. That's how he's been so far this season. He's not scored a goal from open play yet. Incredibly, he scored a penalty. He scored a retake of a penalty or a follow-up from a penalty, and he scored from a knockdown at a corner as well. He's become an assister. His expected assist is higher than anyone else in the league because he's playing so wide in this Liverpool team. And until I see him being a real threat and scoring goals again in a central position for Liverpool or stepping into those positions for this Liverpool team, I'm just not sure. If you bring him in, that means you have to buy someone who's around the sort of 5.5 mark. If you're taking out someone like Saka and a Son combination, Anthony Gordon could be the pass to Mohamed Salah. But for the moment, it's no Salah for me.
Oh, that was really interesting. The thing about scoring from open play, I definitely hadn't read into it as deeply as that. And I've obviously got him. And to be fair, Salah's kept my season. Yeah, mate, he said hat-trick incoming. I hope so, mate, because I've got him. But he's done quite well for me, I have to say. Since I've had him since the start of the season, I do feel the reason I've been pretty steady at that million rank is basically because I've had Salah.
He's not a bad pick. He's not a bad pick. As Calvin says, he's returned in every game week so far. That's fine. He's 12.5 million. He should be returning in every single game week. But from a 12.5 million asset, I want someone who I can captain as an alternative to Erling Haaland. And I'm just not sure that that Salah has been that just yet. I think that Liverpool attack, it's making it easier because Anthony Gordon's emerging. So like I say, if you take Son and Saka, their combined cost is 17.9 million. Take 12.5 million off that, and you're left with 5.4, which means you only need to find a little bit more to get to Anthony Gordon. But other than that, you're fishing in the sort of Matthias Jensen or Declan Rice field to be able to match that combined total. And it also, as well, the thing about picking Salah, I just think how much you're going to have to compromise the rest of your team. How much are you going to have to miss out on a Alexander-Arnold if you want him, or a Kieran Trippier if you want them? Can you still step up to a Gabriel Jesus, a Callum Wilson, and Ollie Watkins sort of level in your attack? Midfield as well. There's so many midfielders that seem to be doing so well at the moment. I'm just not sure that it's worth completely ripping up your team to get Salah in. Maybe in the next couple of weeks, I'll be proved completely wrong, and perhaps he'll end up in my side. But just at this precise moment now, I don't want him just yet.
No, I think that is a good point. And I think, like, if anyone is trying to like make up ways to get Salah into their team for this moment, I don't think that really makes much sense. Tottenham away, Brighton away are not great fixtures for Liverpool. Like, they could win those games, definitely. But
yeah, I can see them scoring in both games. I'm just not sure. Like I say with Salah, and the games I've seen as well, I've been at, I think, all three of the Anfield Premier League games. He's been in the matches, but it's not Salah as we know it. It's not the asset that he's been in the last few seasons. Yes, he's returned, and yes, he's been getting assists, and yes, he's on the score sheet. But like I say, 2 of those are penalties, one that he missed, so he didn't even get maximum return for that, and then followed up to score. In a way, I was surprised he was on the penalty last weekend because of his record in recent times. But I guess that shows it's still Mohamed Salah, and his influence is still big around this Liverpool team. Yeah. But yeah, no goals in open play, no amazing wing play, no running onto through balls, none of that just at the moment. And a very wide left creator role, it seems, in predominantly. Like I say, the most creative player in the Premier League so far this season in terms of expected assists. So yes, he's returning, but here we go. It's exactly what I was about to say. Yes, he's returning, but it's 12.5 million. You want it to be spectacular. It needs to be Erling Haaland.
Yeah, no, you are right. Like, you do expect high consistency levels. And I would say game week 10 is obviously a week when a lot of people are considering wildcard. And Salah might be worth it at that point. Liverpool go on a run of games: Nottingham Forest home, Luton away, Brentford home. That might be a time to look to get Salah, and you could also got a couple more games to measure things up and see if he is managing to get any more direct goal threat. Like you say, he's not in those positions, especially now that Darwin, the kind of role that he's picked up in this Liverpool team. Darwin does seem to be picking up those central opportunities, and
Jota is, and Gakpo is.
Yeah, that's true.
And Diaz is playing. So this is the tricky thing with Salah. You'd like to be able to just pick another Liverpool player and then think, right, well, I've got a little bit of coverage there. So if Salah is the most creative player, who's the player in the middle who's making the most of that? So if Darwin does become first choice properly for Liverpool, then that's fine. You can just pick him. I'm just not sure that anyone is going to be that either. Do you know what I mean? I'm just not sure that there is going to be a Jota or a Darwin or someone else clear. So perhaps you do have to go to Salah to make the most of Liverpool's fixtures.
Hopefully Liverpool get 15 penalties this season, and it makes it all worthwhile for me. Salah bags all of them. I'll just count on them on that working out. Right, let's do questions for the last 7 minutes or so. We'll rattle through as many as we can. So get them in right now. I know people have been asking them all throughout the show, so sorry we didn't get to all of them earlier on. But this is your moment, right? Matty says Saka out for a -4. I'm saying no. Doesn't make any sense, Matty. I know that he's flagged up; it scares people, but don't do it.
We want him back probably as well in no time, so it's probably could end up being a -8 even.
I think so, yeah. Lungani says Eze to Gordon. 100% for me. Yeah, I think that's got to be done. Flecken or Turner? I don't like Flecken at all. I know it's a bit harsh, but I don't like Flecken. I'd say.
So your fixtures Turner. Are what?
They're playing each other, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, aren't they? At the City Ground. Probably just Turner, I think. But
Brentford aren't in good form. They're not playing like themselves at all. I think it's a very strange one, and Flecken isn't giving me David Raya vibes at the moment, so I don't trust him enough. I see him. I'm keeping Sterling for another week. Thoughts?
Good luck, mate.
Yeah, I think you're brave. Do you know what? I don't think he will, but Sterling is verging on being dropped from that team. Like if Poch
Really?
is, yeah, he is. Like they've got a couple of selection dilemmas at the moment at Chelsea, and Poch has got a problem in that Ian Matson comes in, keeps doing well. Cole Palmer's coming doing well, so Cole Palmer will probably start against Fulham on Monday. He'll probably play in that 10 role, so it might not directly affect Sterling, but if he doesn't get dropped for this Fulham game, but he doesn't play well against Fulham, I don't think he's very far away from getting the chop. So,
Okay,
stick with him for this week, but be careful on Raz. Nuisance says, who is the best forward from 6 million and below? I've got Archer, but I'm not gonna recommend him.
How much is Norris?
Morris might be the best of a bad bunch. Raul Jimenez. I saw Raul Jimenez today in Sainsbury's. How about that?
Did you?
I did, yeah. Should have asked him if he's any good. If he's starting against Chelsea this weekend. There aren't that many is the true answer on that one. Luke, is Salah, Gordon, Diaby, Bowen, and Son good for a wild card? Would you want them in your team?
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that midfield. There's a few people missing. There's no Arsenal or Manchester United midfield coverage, which is very popular at the moment. But people may well jump off with their fixtures getting more difficult in a couple of weeks.
Would you prefer to get rid of, like, if this was your wild card right now? Would you choose to go against Salah so that you could bring in someone else and upgrade one of the others?
I don't know. I think I've gone strong enough without trying to put other people off picking Mohamed Salah.
I think it's a good midfield, Luke. Like I genuinely,
Yeah.
I think you're in a good place there. Replacement for Gusto, that's 4.2 million. Well, I need to be looking at this one myself right now, so I should probably quickly load that up and see who I would be able to get in right now. 4.2. There's not that many.
You're looking at a Jordan Bayer with having the double game week coming up, or
Johnny Evans.
Luton. Yeah, Johnny Evans won't play unless these flags continue for Manchester United, and he ends up, proving that he is actually the reincarnation of Franz Beckenbauer. I don't think he's dead actually, but you know what I mean. I'm not sure that's right. I suppose the other one is Luton, with them having the double game week this week as well, and Kabore looks like the pick for them. He's 4 million at the moment, so perhaps you could get that. I think across out of the two, Luton and Burnley, I think Luton are maybe the ones more likely to keep a clean sheet in this double game week. So perhaps him, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Tanta says Diaby or Gordon on a wild card, because of the fixture. Like, I have to say, I do prefer Gordon. I know it's only an immediate response to that question, and he's on 4 yellows, but I still think Gordon. Sorry, I don't mean to knock Diaby every time I ask a question on him. Onana on Turner. I have both of these goalkeepers, and I'm currently on Onana.
Me too.
Mainly because I don't think Palace are really going to have a shot. But
interesting shout, actually. Jared Bramthwaite, who's become first choice for Everton. I think he's around that sort of price point as well. A couple of people in the chat saying him, and he looks like he's cemented his place in that team as well. And I think they've got Luton at home and then Bournemouth at home. I think the next 2 game weeks, Everton. So perhaps he could be a shout as well at that price point in defence.
Yeah, I like that. Neil says Saliba to start or flagged. I mean, I haven't had enough time to dig into that one, Neil. But some people did say they couldn't see him in the training pictures earlier. So you're going to have to do a Gianni here, and you're going to have to go through Arsenal's website and just go through all their training pictures and have a look to see if he's spotted. But I don't think he has been. And they might be able to live without Saliba for 1 week. So if he's got a knock, I think they might be tempted to just take him out of the action. Right, Derek, Archer or Cash? Bench one. Archer.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, I've got Archer in my team right now, but not because I particularly want him there. Estupinan or Colwill? You can do that one, mate.
I'm not sure either of them are keeping a clean sheet, so for the attacking output, I'd go for Estupinan.
Very nice. Peter, Maddison, Diaby, Darwin, bench one. Oh, that's a really tough one. Villa home to Brighton. Liverpool, obviously away to Tottenham. Tottenham home to Liverpool. So which one would you bench?
Diaby just.
It's a tough one, isn't it?
I think he's a decent pick this week. So
Diaby, he is a decent pick. I always go against him, but he's not a bad pick. If you've got Diaby, don't listen to me in terms of like he's not a good player, because he is, and he's been a really
right.
good
And
asset.
defensively, he's not haven't been great either, have they? So you can
Not
see Villa
really.
scoring. So yeah.
Not really at all. Yeah, right. I think that's all we have got time for. Ian, it's been a whirlwind, but thank you for coming on, mate. Appreciate
Loved
it.
it,
And had
Dean.
good
Thank
fun.
you.
Yeah. No, top man.
Stirred up the pot with a Mo Salah shout. I like that he got a few bites, so that's good.
He did. Good luck with it at the weekend, and good luck to me with Colton Morris as well, as he bags his first ever Premier League hat trick. Thank you to all of you that have been liking. Please make sure you subscribe. I'll be back on Monday. I presume G's back from India on Monday. We'll have to see what his score's like and whether he can limp back in after getting like a 45-pointer or something after his record week. But we shall see. We've been chasing green arrows. We'll catch you soon.